The doorman saw my old rags and scuffed shoes and tried to turn me away, never dreaming that the deed to this entire building carries my name. For 40 years, I kept a secret from my own son. I never told Marcus that his simple mother earns $50,000 every single month. Why? Because I wanted to know what would happen when I had nothing shiny to offer. I wanted to see if my own flesh and blood would stand by me when the world turned its back. That night at dinner, Marcus sat across from me, flanked by his in-laws, Franklin and Veronica. They looked at me like I was a stain on their silk tablecloth. They offered me a $700 monthly allowance just to disappear from their lives forever. They thought they were buying off a broke, desperate old woman, but they didn't know they were walking into a trap I had been setting for decades. I didn't go to that dinner to beg for a place at their table. I went there to take the table away from them. People often ask me, "Ilara, why do you stay in that cramped, drafty apartment? Why do you shop at thrift stores when you've spent 20 years as a senior executive at a global firm?" My answer is always the same. True power doesn't need to shout. I spent my career in boardrooms where men tried to drown each other out. I signed million-dollar contracts and made decisions that changed the lives of thousands. But when the workday ended, I would come home, take off my tailored suits, and become the mother who stirred a pot of day-old soup and mended Marcus's torn jeans. Marcus always saw me as a simple secretary. He never asked what I actually did behind those glass office doors. He mistook my silence for a lack of ambition. He mistook my thrift for poverty. When he married Simone, her family treated me like a piece of unwanted furniture. Veronica, draped in diamonds that were mostly bought on credit, would look at my faded purse and sigh with pity. "Poor Ilara," she'd say, her voice dripping with fake honey. "It's a shame you didn't plan better for your old age. If Marcus hadn't married into our family, what would have become of you?" I swallowed every insult. I let them believe I was a burden. I wanted to see if there was any soul left behind their porcelain smiles. I wanted to know, if I told them I had nothing left to eat, would they offer me a seat or would they show me the door? So, on that Saturday night, I didn't reach for my designer coat. I put on the most shapeless, wrinkled dress I owned. I took off my watch, let my hair go messy, and walked into that den of lions looking like a lamb. The suspense was a cold fire in my chest, because I knew that within 2 hours, their pride was going to burn to the ground. The air in that restaurant was thin, the kind of air only people with too much money and too little heart breathe. Marcus looked like he wanted to swallow his own tongue. He kept adjusting his tie, his eyes darting from my wrinkled dress to Veronica's emerald-encrusted neck. "Mom," he whispered, leaning in so close I could smell his nervous sweat. "Just try the water. Don't look at the prices. I've got it." He thought he was protecting me. He didn't realize he was patronizing the woman who taught him how to walk. Veronica didn't waste time. She placed her silk napkin on her lap like she was preparing for surgery. "Ilara, dear," she started, her voice sounding like a cat purring before a strike. "We were looking at your apartment on the way here. Such a quaint neighborhood. It's a bit dangerous for a woman of your age, isn't it? And those stairs, surely your knees must ache." I looked down at my plate, playing the part. I let my hand tremble just a little as I picked up the bread. "I manage, Veronica. It's home." "Home shouldn't be a struggle," Franklin chimed in, his heavy gold watch clinking against the mahogany table. "Simone tells us you're still working. Filing papers, administrative help. At 65, Ilara, one should be resting. But I suppose when the savings aren't there, the clock never stops ticking." I felt Marcus stiffen beside me. He didn't defend me. He just looked at his steak as if it held the secrets to the universe. That was the first cut. The silence of my own son. The dinner progressed like a slow-motion car crash. Every time I spoke, Veronica and Franklin exchanged a look, that poor thing look. They talked over me about their villas in Tuscany and their private equity portfolios, intentionally using words they thought I wouldn't understand. "We're worried about Marcus's future, you see," Veronica said, leaning forward, the blue light of her diamonds dancing on the table. "He's a rising star, but a star can be pulled down by heavy anchors. Family obligations can be so draining when one side has to carry the entire financial weight. She wasn't talking about family. She was talking about me. I was the anchor. I was the debt they hadn't signed up for. I took a sip of the cheap house water and looked her directly in the eyes. I dropped the timid act for just a split second, long enough to see her flinch. "What are you suggesting, Veronica?" The table went silent. Even the waiter seemed to freeze. Franklin cleared his throat, sensing the shift in the wind, but he didn't stop. He pushed a small cream-colored envelope across the table toward me. It looked like an invitation, but it felt like a sentence. "We want to make things easier for everyone," Franklin said, his voice dropping into that business-cold tone I knew all too well. "Inside is a commitment for $700 a month. It's yours. No strings attached. On one condition." I felt the suspense reach my throat. I didn't open the envelope. I knew what was in it. It wasn't money. It was a bribe. "And the condition?" I asked, my voice as steady as a heartbeat. Veronica smiled, and for the first time, I saw the predator behind the pearls. "We want you to move to a retirement community we've selected 3 states away. It's lovely, Alara, but Marcus and Simone need to build their life without distractions, without the constant worry of a mother who can't keep up." They weren't just offering me an allowance. They were buying my exile. They were asking me to sell my son for $700 a month. And the worst part, Marcus still didn't say a word. I didn't touch the envelope. I didn't even look inside. I simply pushed it back into the center of the table like it was a piece of rotting fruit. $700, I said. My voice wasn't small anymore. It was clear, resonant, and so steady that the people at the neighboring tables went silent just to listen. "Veronica, do you truly believe my presence in my son's life is worth the price of one of your shoes?" Veronica's eyebrows shot up in mock outrage. "Alara, don't be ungrateful. We are trying to help." "Silence!" I snapped. That one word cut through the air like a blade. Franklin dropped his fork, his hand visibly shaking. I turned my gaze to Marcus. "Marcus, did you not tell them? Or did you truly forget whose blood runs in your veins?" I reached into my faded canvas bag and pulled out a slim, matte black object, my black platinum credit card. I placed it on the table with a sharp clack that made the silverware ring. "Keep your $700, Franklin," I said, my voice dropping into a terrifyingly calm chill. "Because right now, you are sitting in a restaurant where the owner is a personal friend of mine, and I happen to hold the master lease for this entire building." Veronica's mouth hung open. Marcus looked like he had seen a ghost. "Mom, what is this? What's going on?" "This is the truth, Marcus. You thought your mother was a simple secretary who bought groceries from the discount bin because she was struggling. You thought I was poor because I chose not to scream about my success. But the reality is, I have been the senior director of operations for a global firm for 20 years. My monthly check isn't $700. It's $40,000, $50,000. I turned back to Franklin, whose face had turned the color of ash. "You tried to bribe me to go into exile." "Franklin, I give more to charity every Christmas than your entire net worth." I signaled the waiter and handed him the black card. "Pay for the entire dinner, and include a generous tip on my behalf, because it seems our guests have hearts far smaller than their bank accounts." Marcus's voice was trembling now. "Mom, why didn't you tell me? Why keep such a massive thing hidden?" "Because I needed to know, Marcus," I said, a flicker of genuine sadness crossing my face. "I needed to know if you would stand up for me when I had nothing shiny to show for myself." Today, I got my answer. You let them insult me. You let them try to buy me. You stayed silent while they treated your mother like a burden. I grabbed my bag and stood up. I wasn't the hunched, weary old woman anymore. I was the high-powered executive who had survived 40 years in the corporate trenches. "Veronica, you asked how I manage at my age," I said, leaning in close until she could see the cold fire in my eyes. "I manage with dignity, the kind of dignity that costs far more than $700. Enjoy your dinner. It's the cheapest lesson I've ever had to teach." I didn't turn on the lights when I got home. I didn't need to. I knew every inch of this simple apartment. I sat in my old armchair, the one Franklin had called trash, and listened to the silence. It was the first time in 40 years that the silence didn't feel lonely. It felt like victory.
An hour later, the knocking started. It wasn't the polite tap of a guest. It was the desperate, frantic pounding of a man who realized he had lost the only thing that was real. I opened the door. Marcus was standing there, drenched from the rain, his expensive suit ruined. "Mom, please," he choked out, his voice cracking. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I played along with them, they'd take care of us of you." I didn't move. I didn't invite him in. I just leaned against the doorframe, watching him shiver. "You didn't think you were protecting me, Marcus. You thought you were protecting your comfort. You traded your mother's honor for the hope of a bigger inheritance from people who don't even respect you." "I'll make it right," he cried. "I'll tell them to leave. We don't need their money. Now that I know you have all this, we're set. We can finally live the way we were meant to." I looked at him, and my heart didn't break. It just went cold. "You still don't get it, do you? You think this is just about a bank balance." I walked over to my small desk and picked up a single blue folder. I handed it to him. "You've always wondered how you got that lucky break at the firm 5 years ago, haven't you? How your mortgage was suddenly refinanced at a rate that didn't exist for anyone else? How Simone's father suddenly got that massive contract that saved his business from bankruptcy?" Marcus opened the folder. His face went from pale to ghostly. "Every miracle in your life, Marcus, was me. I didn't just earn $40,000 a month. I built a shadow network. I've been the one paying your bills through front companies for years. I didn't just fund your life. I funded the Vernons' life, too. They think they're the kings of the mountain. I own the mountain." "But here's the twist, son," I said, my voice as sharp as a diamond. "That folder isn't a gift. It's a closing statement. Tonight I pulled the funding. By tomorrow morning, Franklin's firm will lose its primary investor. Your mortgage will return to the market rate. And that allowance they offered me? They're going to need it more than I ever will." Marcus looked at me with horror. "Mom, you're ruining us. You're ruining your own son?" "No, Marcus," I replied softly, beginning to close the door. "I'm doing what I should have done years ago. I'm letting you grow up. I'm giving you the one thing money can't buy, the chance to see who you are when there's no one behind the curtain pulling the strings. You wanted a simple mother? Well, now you have a simple life. Good night, Marcus." I closed the door. I locked it. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like a secretary or a director or a billionaire. I just felt free. People often ask me if I regret being so harsh with Marcus. They ask if a mother should ever ruin her own child. But you see, I didn't ruin him. I rescued him. I rescued him from the lie that money is the same thing as character. I rescued him from a life where he would always be a puppet to someone else's gold. Wealth is a strange thing. It can build a mansion, but it can't build a home. It can buy a wedding, but it can't buy a marriage. And it can certainly buy a simple mother an expensive dinner, but it can't buy the respect she earned through 40 years of sacrifice. I'm still living in my modest apartment. I still carry my groceries in that faded canvas bag. The neighbors still call me poor Mrs. Sterling, and I let them. Because now, when I walk down the street, I'm not looking to see who envies me. I'm looking for the people who see me. Not the bank account, not the title, just the woman. Marcus is working 2 jobs now. Simone is learning how to cook. They're struggling, yes, but for the first time in their lives, they're speaking to each other without looking at a price tag. They're learning that a life so ordinary that no one wants to steal it is the most precious thing you can own. So, if you're listening to this at your own kitchen table, remember, true power doesn't need to shout. True dignity doesn't need a label. And the most expensive thing you will ever own is your own soul. Don't sell it for $700 a month. Don't sell it for $1 billion. Because once it's gone, there isn't enough money in the world to buy it back. I am Alara Sterling. I was a ghost in a mansion and a queen in a boardroom. But today Today, I am finally just a mother who is at peace. And that is the only legacy I ever really wanted.